Let's go.
Okay, hello everybody, and welcome to the Untitled FWA podcast. It's been about 3 months since the last episode, so you can be forgiven if you've forgotten what Devin's voice sounds like. And if something sounds off to you right now, it's because I am not Devin Golden. Try as I might, I will never be Devin Golden. I'm just a little Jiggy in a big world trying to make it.
Now, how many times did you think that ahead of time and just how long did it take you to think of that? Or did you think of it on the fly? Be honest.
No, right before we recorded, I was like, oh yeah, they're gonna expect Devin, so let me just remind them that I am not Devin, and will never be Devin. But yeah, that's right, I am not you. I'm just me, man. They brought in the big guns to host this landmark 10th episode of the Untitled FWA podcast, and since the World Championship was won on the 10th episode of Meltdown, it's only fitting that we have an even bigger gun to be the guest of honor, and it is the man himself, the man you submit your segments to, the man you pitch your ideas to, and the man you harass over private messages when you want to know why that promo you spent 3 days on lost by 2 points. So yeah, it's the one and only Devin Golden, one of the longest tenured writers in the FWA. Devin, you've had a few successful characters, more title wins than you can shake a stick at, and a legacy as the most dedicated FWA mod of all time. You're somebody who's not only crafted an impressive set of accolades for yourself, but you've also been instrumental in carrying the FWA on your back and making it a thriving ecosystem that it is today. This isn't, hyperbole by any means when I say that the FWA would not exist today if not for you. You've saved it from obscurity. You've shepherded us to shelter in the darkest of storms. When PWS was going out, we didn't know where we were going to fucking land. We could have just died then and there. You said, not today. You stopped that from happening. You secured our home on Wrestling Click. We've fucking never been better. Devin, I know that typically this is where you thank your guests for coming on, but today I'm just going to thank you for letting me host this one because I really can't wait to dive into your long, storied career. How the fuck are you doing, man?
I'm good, man. What an intro. Thank you. I said this before we started recording. I'm anxious and nervous, and it's weird being on the other side of these. So oh man, I have so many things I want to say, but I think I don't like talking about myself, so it's going to be weird in that regard. And I'm always
Yeah.
someone I like to repay compliments with compliments. So like when you had that intro, the whole time I'm thinking I gotta think of an equally as great compliment to repay you with. So I
Nah,
can't
man,
think of one on the top of my head.
no,
But
that was episode 6 or 7 when I was
yeah,
on, man. You already showered me with all the compliments. We're past that. You need to get used to it because there's going to be a lot of compliments going your way on this one. It was really important that I hosted this one.
yes.
Just because I can't think of anybody besides probably ETE that's been around long enough to really represent the full scope of what your career in the FWA has, represented. And also, this is really important to me because we're good friends.
Yeah.
We haven't fucking hung out since COVID hit, so I wanted to just shoot the shit with you for a little bit more.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, so when we first talked about doing the pod with you, which was like last back in business around that time.
Right.
And then we did the draft. We talked about like you doing two, like me interviewing you about Kennedy and whatnot, and you in the FWA, and then you interviewing me. And I was like very excited about both of those. And then, there's a reason kind of for doing it now. We can talk about that. We will, I guess, talk about that in a second, or later on. But I came to you and I was like, hey, like, because you just had a kid, so like I don't want to like be like, hey man, when are we gonna do this? But like I reached out and I was like, hey, there's a reason why there's a time sensitive nature to it, maybe. And
Right.
when I kind of said like, I want you to do it, but if you can't, I get it. I can possibly find someone else. But I agree, like you're the first choice because in addition to the fact that you and I have been in this thing, pretty much since 2010, right? 2011 together. we're good friends. We became good friends because of the FWA. We've hung out in person multiple times. We went to each other's weddings, so I think that matters. And so, yeah,
For those of you that weren't there, sorry to cut you off. For
no.
those of you that weren't there, he had a wonderful wedding. I felt very out of place there, a degenerate that I am. All these fine people.
Oh man, yeah. No, and your wedding was like so much like, I mean, it was, I guess you're second, but it was like so down to earth and like laid back, and honestly, in a way, like I was envious because I was like, man, like it doesn't have like all like the bells and whistles of like what you think of a wedding, but like there's a nice element to that too, very relaxed. So I I was envious 'cause I think your wedding was like a month or two after mine, and
Right.
I obviously was like, comparing just in terms of the dichotomy and how different it was, and part of me was like, man, I kind of wish that we had like 30 people and like it was this chill versus
Right.
what we did. But I nah, man, I loved your wedding. I thought your wedding was great. So no, don't. Yeah, you were not out of place in mine. I was so happy to have you. I tried to invite Shake and Kaizen. Apparently the letter didn't get to them, or the invite didn't get to them, and they still sent me a gift. I
Yeah.
think they sent me a pasta maker, and I think we still have it.
Oh, that's
Right,
incredible. Oh
yeah.
yeah.
So
Oh yeah.
I feel, again, I don't think Shake and Kaizen were going to show up, but I wanted to try and invite them. But I was really glad that you were able to get there, man. It was awesome.
Yeah, man, it was a great time. Not and we've done weddings multiple times. You've come over to my house. We've played werewolf for the I know that Mafia is big on the forum. You guys have not fucking played Mafia until you've played it in person with Devin lying to your face. He is a very skilled liar. He's very good at that. But yeah, and we've hit up the bar. We've had drinks at the bar,
Yeah,
watched a game. We've played Dungeons and Dragons together at
we
my kitchen
did.
table. You know what I mean? Like
We
fucking
did.
very, very, very. The friendships that you make in eFed, you really can't fucking undersell them, man. Because it's not just about what you're putting down in your fucking RPs. It's the community that you build and shit like that. So very happy to know you, man. So we're gonna get into it.
Let's go.
But before we really get into your characters, because you have a few, and we're obviously going to touch on Devin Golden the most. We'll get into Shannon a little bit. But before we really get into your characters, take me back to 2009 when you signed up for the FWA. Where were you at in your life? And when you found the FWA, what compelled you to sign up?
All right, so I was thinking about. I knew this was going to come up, and I was thinking about like, what's the best way to answer this? And I was like, I can go like the long route. And I was like, you know what? Fuck it. Let's go the long route. So it all started with this kid, Philip Landesh, who I've never mentioned in 20 years, his name. It was fifth grade, and I was sitting there, and he was a big wrestling fan. I just got paired next to him in fifth grade class. And so he just started talking wrestling. And I was like, I don't know what the fuck. I don't watch wrestling. And it was big. This is like 1999. So I was like, fuck it, I'll watch it. And the first segment I ever watched was a Nitro in like January or February of '99 when Rey Mysterio beat Kevin Nash. He was unmasked, and then he did like his whole giant killer thing. I was hooked. I was absolutely hooked. And then later I saw Rock punch Stone Cold off a bridge, and anyway. So I was into wrestling for a while throughout my like middle school into early high school. Then kind of fell out of it. And then in high school, I got into Guns N' Roses, and so much so that I joined a Guns N' Roses forum, like really fucking into Guns N' Roses. And people in the FWA, many people already know that, that. So around like, I guess I was 18, 19, I was in college, freshman year, and I was on the Guns N' Roses forum, and they were like picking up with the Chinese Democracy album or whatever. And there was like a thread in like the separate like anything goes section where you could talk about whatever, politics, whatever. There was a thread for wrestling. And I was like, oh, I used to watch wrestling. And so I would every now and then look at it. And then it was like around the Royal Rumble of like 2007, and Undertaker won it. So I was like, I just happenstance just decided to watch a SmackDown. Got back into wrestling around that time. Someone in that Guns N' Roses forum thread posted a link to PWS. And so I was like, okay. And then I started looking at PWS forums and joined. And then it was 2007, I think, and I decided to like start it was called Creative, but basically Be the Booker. And I'm going to call it Be the Booker because it's a cooler name. I started a Be the Booker. And from doing that, kind of like what, this is kind of like how Battle Tank did it. How Battle Tank, who's now in part of FWA, how he joined, Chris Crow's handler. I just saw people on PWS with like in their signatures, like, 2-time North American champion. And I was like, I don't know what this is. Like, what is this? And eventually I started to look into it and I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. There's like a little like writing competition thing that you can it's role playing, right? It's nerdy, but it's like a writing type of thing and you write your own promo and you're like in this fed. It's like a competition thing. And I equated it to like being in like an online Madden league when I was like do that in video games. So I was like, all right, I'll join. And it was like 2008. And so, yeah, I mean, I just equated it back to like just getting into wrestling, I guess, like when I was in 5th grade and then like eventually getting into Guns N' Roses. And then just kind of like that line that kind of brought me back to being a wrestling fan, onto PWS forums, and then joining the FWA in 2008. And I was really shitty. I was really bad. And I've never been another Fed. I mean, I was in CWA for a hot minute, but I hardly count it. I never joined one before. I didn't get how you can expand what like a wrestling promo was beyond like what I see on TV. So I would do the backstage stuff, or I'm in the parking lot, or whatever the case may be, talking into the camera, getting all hype, like, being all, bravado shit. And I'm going to win for the fans. I was like a white knight babyface type character. And I just, I was super idealistic and all that shit. But yeah, man, like I was bad. And I was, I don't know. It was 2008 and it didn't click for me for a while. It just didn't click for me for at least a year. But it was a competition, it was a challenge, and so that was kind of the cool nature about it.
Right. And you were using Shane Helms as your base pick then, or was that later on?
No, it was it may have been Chris Sabin, but it may have been Chris Sabin, but pretty quickly, like within a few months, it switched to Shane Helms. Yeah.
Yeah, because I think for me, Devin Golden there's two distinct versions of Devin Golden. There's the PWS Devin Golden, and then there's the Wrestling Clique Devin Golden, and I think those are both personified by the different, like, with PWS, I think Shane Helms. With Wrestling Clique, I think Jimmy Jacobs. But that's pretty fucking interesting. I wouldn't have imagined that your love for Guns N' Roses led you to the E-Fed. Yeah, it's pretty weird, man.
It's weird. It's weird, man. And like I don't even go to that. Like I hardly go to that Guns N' Roses forum ever anymore.
Yeah.
But it's a weird line.
Yeah, man. So Devin Golden is easily your most acclaimed FWA character. But before we really get into him, let's take a look at some of your other contributions, because coming in at second place is a character that already has her Hall of Fame status on reserve. She's a former world champion, former 2 times women champion, Shannon O'Neill. The fact that you were able to come up with that character and be successful with that character while already having Devin under your belt is impressive, because you really don't see that a lot, where somebody's secondary character just shits and pisses on most people's first character. She's fucking icon. Then you also have a former tag team champion in the wildly eccentric XYZ. You and I won tag team gold together, XYZ and Lord Dog, as the Warriors of Virtue. From what I've seen, as I'm slowly dipping my toes back into the forum with my impending return here soon, I see that you've brought an XYZ back, if I'm not mistaken, so that looks pretty interesting. And then you have the slapstick character Sauce Man, which
who's easily the best.
Easily the best. What prompted you to make the Sauce Man character? Were you just bored one night? Maybe you were smoking something.
It was so I think Sully was doing Ground Zero.
Right.
And yeah, I was like, I'm going to just put like, because people were like signing up their characters and stuff, like these kind of pseudo ridiculous kind of characters, right?
Right.
Very gimmicky characters. Like Ground Zero is like the place that you just put like the most wrestling, like traditional wrestling gimmicky type of shit. And I was like, let me just put I don't know. I don't know why, but I was like, let me just put this guy Sauceman, and I'm pretty sure it was all based on the fact that I had been listening to Lemonade, Beyonce's album, a lot, and I really like the song Formation. And there's the line in there, hot sauce in my bag, swag, and I just and so I made that Sauce Man's theme song, and I was like, well, what should I name this character? And I was like, oh, fucking Sauce Man, who cares? And I had like a cartoon character sitting on a tomato initially, just the most ridiculous thing. And I think Smooth Jazz Wolf commented right after I signed up, like, it's over. Sauce Man
It's
wins.
over.
He's in Win Ground Zero. It's the best character. And I think whenever we were doing the brand split, I was like, let me just, because Sauceman got eliminated like on the first day of Ground Zero, and I was like, let me like see if I can turn this like rags, like I do like a little rags to riches story on as a secondary character, opposite of whatever brand the golden character goes to, and it was fun. Like he turned into like he was like kind of time traveling and shit, and so it was kind of like Chris Peacock inspired in a way, but he I eventually shelved him because I was like, even if I try and be serious with him, like he's never going to be taken seriously because his fucking name is Sauce Man, and that's okay, but
And it's a very AON approach to creating a
is.
character because you heard this one line in a song and built a whole ass character around him.
It is. It definitely is.
But it was a very fun character, man. Circling back to Shannon though, because Shannon, that could be a podcast in itself if we really wanted it to be. What compelled you to create that character back in 2013? Do we feel like we were getting bored of the Devin Golden character for you? Maybe was it getting stagnant, or was it something where you wanted to challenge yourself by stepping out of your comfort zone and doing something drastically different?
I think it's probably the last part the most. I wanted to be outside of my comfort zone and do something different. I think if I could go back and do it again, everyone says that, the last name Golden is, and just the name Devin Golden is a cool name, and especially the last name is cool. And I've got people tell me that in the FWA. I've had people tell me that in real life. I probably
Mhm.
wouldn't name him after me though. Like looking back on it, like I
Right.
did that in kind of an idealistic, like me in real life, I want to be flying off the rope and winning championships. So let me just kind of project that into
Right.
this fake, or fantasy wrestling fed. So I think when I kind of fell onto that and kind of realized that's how I felt, I was like, well, let me make a different character and let me try and something like, I'm not gonna just write another male character. Let me try something like that's gonna be a challenge. Like let me try and write a female character or a woman. And it was, I believe, 2013. I had kind of hit a spot where like Sunrise Sunset just ended, so I was ready to kind of I was just in like a, I'm not sure where I'm going to take the Devin Golden character next. So he was on a bit of a hiatus, like a 4-month hiatus at that point, like the second half of 2013. This is the spot. I've been thinking about doing a female character for a while. Let me try and make this character. And the idea behind Shannon was she's from Lafayette, Indiana, which is the hometown of Axl Rose. And she most notably was like, I tried to make her very like blue collar, salt of the earth type. Like she said y'all and ain't, and she kind of had that twang. I tried to write her with a twang, which doesn't always, it's very difficult and doesn't always come across in actual like written words, but I tried to, and I tried to just kind of like write this like character that was more like a bruiser.
Right.
And kind of had like a country, like kind of a Midwestern vibe to her that was outside of anything I've ever experienced. I'm a man. I'm not from the Midwest. I don't talk, I mean, I say y'all and stuff and ain't, but like I don't have like a twang to my my speech and my voice and stuff like that. So, and I wouldn't necessarily say that I'm like, I wouldn't call myself salt of the earth or something. So, I just wanted to write someone, after writing a character that was based on me, initially at least, I wanted to write a character that was based nothing like me and the challenges with that. And a little part of it was honestly that I saw a bit of a void in the women's division. We still had a women's championship at that time. But like it was like Saddle Sally was like the women's champ, and she had been for like 4 months because there was really no one to challenge her. And I was like, there's
Right.
really nothing in this. There's kind of a gap here. Like I, could come right in and be successful, and I think I could help elevate that division a bit. That is getting pretty kind of just, there's nothing to it. There's no life there. There's no energy there. I think I could kind of give a jolt of energy to that. And so that's,
Yeah.
and then, again, like any character, it took a bit to find my feet. I didn't really know who she was at first. Then I think it was, about a year into it, Shannon kind of became like this anti-Gabrielle character, which I don't know if you remember. I
Right.
think you do, because I think you were definitely around the time with Kennedy. This kind of anti-Gabby character who would be like,
Mhm.
Gabby's the world champ, but like, who after Gabby has been which woman after Gabby has been successful in the FWA? No one has. Like, Gabby is all about women empowerment, but who
Right.
after Gabby has ever been successful? So Shannon was kind of very heel in that way because Gabby was very beloved at the time. And it kind of led to this like
Right.
Gabby Shannon match at Trial by Fire, and Shannon won. I won with her, and then just from that, there's a lot more to it, but from in that spot, I kind of found my footing as kind of this very.
Mhm.
I hate to say this because I think that Shannon is not as big as this character, at least presently, and I think that this character at its apex is like higher than Shannon ever was. But I always kind of envision Shannon as like a very woman female version of Danny Toner, who just comes out and fucking spits and just starts just spitting, like, the most, just he just goes after people verbally and goes after everything verbally and doesn't hold back. Like, I always kind of like, I saw
Right.
Shannon as a kind of a light version of
Yeah.
Danny Toner, and I kind of found my footing with that in the Gabby feud. Um, and
Right on.
it was very fun to write Shannon, and then like the friendship with Belle, the feud with Cyrus. I feel like I kind of hit the end of the road with what I could do with Shannon. I don't think that there was a long term character in like beyond like 5 years, but I definitely had a lot of fun with Shannon, and it definitely made me a better writer to be able to write a character who was not Devin Golden and not me.
Yeah, and so you initially found it challenging, I'm sure, to write from a woman's perspective, but I'm imagining that became much more comfortable for you as you formed her identity, and as you said, you kind of developed her into this anti-Gabby thing. Yeah, I really think, man, the feuds with Gabby and Cyrus alone, coupled with the fact that she was a very, notable world champion, really cements her, like I said earlier, her place in the Hall of Fame. And I had to actually go back and check the record just to make sure she wasn't already inducted into it, but because it seems like such a surefire thing. But moving on from Shannon, want to touch back on. I want to go to the, because in a minute here we're going to run through the entirety of Devin Golden's career.
Right.
But before we do that, want to touch on the meltdown in Texas. To everyone who thought I was dead, let this be a reminder. I am always and forever Devin Golden. These were the words that were uttered when you won your fourth world championship. And I think as writers who are invested in these characters that serve as avatars for ourselves, we have moments that we commit to the keyboard that remind us why we do this, and they reward us for all the mental and creative taxes we've paid. I have to imagine that this was one of those moments for you when you wrote that line, that you just kind of like turned your hat backwards, took a sip of your beer, and said, "Yep, that's it."
Man, I had so much fun. So I wrote like a lot of the ending to that show. And so when I submitted my promo, and we'll talk about the promo in a second, I guess, or later on. But when I submitted my promo to John, I said, "Look, man, I don't want to know if I won until I read the show. I don't want to look at the grades, but I have a very vivid in my head. I have an idea of how, if I do win, how I want it to go down. I don't want it to go down with Devin Golden winning cleanly in the ring and holding the title. I don't want to do that. I want it to be different, and I want it to be kind of heel, and I want it to be, with him being this arrogant asshole." And so I wrote the segment to him, like, here's, you can use it if you want, because you're the mod of Meltdown. Like, you can trump me in this. You can use it if you want. and of course, like if I don't win, then you don't use it. You know, you don't have to use it, of course. But this is just a draft, and I wrote that line, and yeah, man, like you know, that line was, oh man,
Satisfying to write, and I'll bet even more satisfying to see it in the
yeah,
results.
it's like it's like, God, how do I put into words like what it meant, like outside of the character? It's like I did this character for all of 2021 where like Golden was like propping Ramon up. That was his character, right? He was this cheerleader, as Michelle von Horowitz says, the tired
Right.
cheerleader act. Yeah, I just I just wanted to write something that was like a bit of a, again, like I don't want to come off pompous and arrogant, but like a bit of like I can still fucking go. I can
You
still
could
I can
still
still
fucking
go.
go.
Like, like I can still
Right.
go. And and I don't do it often, and I don't have a lot of bullets in the chamber, but like when I have one, I can go. And yeah, it felt good. And that might be, and I imagine that'll be the last time I ever win the title. And it just, yeah, and I think part of it is that it's like there's such a big gap, right? Like the last world title I ever won was in, like, with golden character, was in 2015. Like that's a thick fucking gap. That's a 7 years, right? Like you wouldn't expect it. That's the thing, like John said to me, like it's not what the result I expected, but
Right.
it's also like possibly one of the coolest results because of that. So
Oh yeah,
anyway,
for
yeah,
sure.
again, I don't want to come off
Like
arrogant with that answer, but like, yeah, part of it was me writing a bit of like, it's writing Devin Golden saying it too.
hey man, it's your show this time. You could be a little bit arrogant.
It's I
Right.
know, but like it's Devin Golden saying it, but it's also me kind of saying it too. Yeah,
Well,
there's definitely part of that.
and circling back to the promo that won you that, and because you said that it's that whole "I still got it" thing. I mean, we even seen that resonate in the promo, which was great fucking promo by the way. That opening line where I'm the rotten gold, Devin Golden, holding my newly won and once again loved FWA Tag Team Championship slung around my shoulder. I momentarily forgot. Let me lean in close to the camera backstage at the Ball Arena and whisper what I plan to scream as loud as possible initially. Told y'all so. That told y'all so with the the fucking the golden font or the brown font or whatever. It really set the tone for the promo where you have this confidence right out the gate, but as the promo develops, we see that not doubt, but where Devin, it's a signature Devin Golden thing in his promos where he questions himself. That is always peppered in throughout the promo, and it always comes back full circle towards the end with that moment of self-actualization of, let's go out there and do this shit. I am Devin Golden. Interesting, earlier you had said that you don't know if you would have named your character Devin Golden initially. Reading that most recent promo, like I see like flashes of the real life Devin Golden peppered out all throughout that thing. You're referencing your wife and your baby daughter and your dog and shit like that. People who might not know you, like I know you, they might not realize, but that's fucking your life. That's you. That's like, that's
Right.
all the shit. And I don't know if that's something you started doing while I took my little brief hiatus, peppering in your real life instances into the Devin Golden character put on display. Is that something that you've been doing for a while and I just didn't pick up on it, or?
It's it's something I started. I started it definitely in this run. I started it in like 2020, like before me and Ramon started teaming up. I started doing it. I definitely did a promo against John's character Kazadi, the last match we had. We had like a little series,
Right.
and where like I was walking my dog, and I think I even said the dog was a Beagle Lab mix. So, and then like I had in the promos, I think when we won the tag titles for the first time as Golden Rock, excuse me, I had Golden. I think we did the Groundhog Day promo, and I had Golden get a call from his wife saying that he's pregnant. So yeah, there was a little bit of that. I didn't make a lot of references to it. I mean, I made it kind of sparingly and sporadically. There was not a ton of
Right.
rhyme or reason there. And so, but I definitely had it as a bit of his world. And I definitely would make
Right.
mentions of it, like, I just came from seeing the wife and the kid, or I got to get home to the wife and the kid, or I want to spend more time with the wife and the kid, and that's why I'm gonna retire, or whatever the case may be.
But the Devin Golden character isn't just a different character with your name. He's an alternate version of you in the in the somewhere in the multiverse. This version of Golden is the flip side of you, pretty much.
K- Kind of, yeah. And so when I wrote this promo for Meltdown X, it was, it was kind of a um an acknowledgement, of course, acknowledging all of that, and then kind of making a really dramatic left turn away from it too. Because of course, like in the real life, like I don't think that I'm I don't think this is all a dream, like my life, and I don't think that I'm in a coma in some different reality where I don't have a kid and a wife. Like I don't think those things in real life. So it's a bit of a left turn in terms of like I wanted to do
Of course.
something right. But it was but they're definitely like once. So yeah, once from 2012 or so, when I was like, I don't know if I would have done this, my name as the character, to about 2015 when I kind of just or 20 a little bit in 2015, and like and then later on in like 2019 when I came back, I kind of just leaned into it more. I kind of was like, you know what, this is me. Like I'm just gonna write like I'm gonna add stuff that like has happened to me, because I know the emotions behind it, and I can express those emotions because I felt them. I feel them in real life. You write what you know, right? Like that's the easiest thing, is write what you know, and tell the story based on like what you know and your experiences. And so I felt like the easiest thing was to build a character that kind of had a lot of the shared experiences that I've had, because I could write the emotions behind them a lot more fluidly.
So, in the FWA, Devin Golden he's a two-time FWA X champion, someone who's arguably raised the prestige of that belt to what it is today. You've won the FWA Tag Team Championship a remarkable 7 times, with historic runs with Sunrise, Sunset, and Golden Rock, just to name a few. And we're going to touch on those tag team runs, all fucking 7 of them. Don't you worry, in just a bit. But
Three of them are kind of cop outs, but we can
well,
go.
yeah, believe me, I've made a note of that, and we're going to talk about that one. But but you're a 4-time world champion with your combined reigns between the FWA's 2 world titles, winning the FWA World Heavyweight Championship 3 times in the FWA Championship. Well, now as we know it, the FWA World Championship 1 time most recently. And we're going to talk about your most recent world title reign a little bit more. We've already touched on it just a bit, but it's just truly remarkable in 2022 that you've even fucking pulled that off. So we're going to touch on that a little bit more. But I can't think of anyone with a more complete, well-rounded FWA career than you have had. Yet you're always reluctant to put yourself in the argument for greatest of all time when names like Stu St. Clair, Chris Kennedy, and Cyrus Truth come up. Is it safe to assume that at this point in 2022, you can finally stop being so fucking shy about it and admit that your face is firmly etched in the FWA's Mount Rushmore?
Oh man. Uh, I think there's four names, 4 or 5 names, and they can be interchangeable. And I'll even go six. There's 6 names. They're interchangeable, and depending on the day, someone could wake up and order them any day they wanted. And those 6 names are Chris Kennedy, Stu St. Clair, and this is in no order: Chris Kennedy, Stu St. Clair, Devin Golden, Ryan Rondo, Cyrus Truth, and Gabby. Um, you can order them any way you want. I think Michelle will get in there eventually. Um, I think that the Dave Sullivan character has the potential to be flirting with the edges of that. I think the Ashley Orion character was a little too sporadic. My idealistic nature love the Ashley Orion character, but I think when you take an unbiased look, he probably doesn't quite get there. I think the same
Right.
thing for Wolf. I know you're higher on Wolf than I am, but I think the same thing for Wolf. I don't think he quite gets there. And I think I think characters like Danny Toner and Chris Peacock, like there's the potential, like, and even Chris Crow, there's the potential to do it, but it's a longer road up the ladder for them, of course. But yeah, man, I'm willing to at least, I'll peel back the shyness and I'll say the Devin Golden character can be in that group of 6, and you can order them
Thank
any
you.
way you want. I probably would still go with like some variation of like Ryan Rondo, Chris Kennedy, 1-2. But I could wake up, tomorrow and say Gabby. I don't know, but yeah.
Right.
That's as good as you're gonna get.
All right, you guys heard it here first. He's a narcissist. He thinks very highly of himself. is a North American title reign on your slate before you retire, so that you can hit that grand slam before you ride off into the sunset?
I don't know. Like I honestly don't know. I mean, part of me says like, yeah, like I want to, because I've never won it, and it's like I go back to when I won my first world heavyweight title, like 2010 against Stu. I felt like I did it too quickly, right?
Uh-huh.
I know you feel the same way about Chris Kennedy. Like you feel like you won it too quickly, and then you went back as La Muerta Blanca and won the X title because you feel like you didn't get the chance to go up the ladder in the traditional way. Um, I I feel like I won the world title too quickly. I feel like I wasn't ready for it, and of course I lost in my first defense. So, but then like again, like in a weird way, like I view like it'd be perfect and I in a way to like win that title and then be done. But I also am someone who, and this is like a very romantic thing to think, like I view beauty and imperfection. So like I view a beauty in the idea that I never did and I never tried to. And just let it be. Like if it wasn't organic, just let it be. So yeah, I to the end of it, I don't know. The current North American champion is Chris Crow. I would love for Devin Golden and Chris Crow to have a feud, but I don't know if I'd want to beat him for it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that would be, there's been whispers of retirement or whatever. That would actually be a fucking hell of a
Right.
last opponent for
Yeah.
you to go out on, and put someone like him over. But so we'll go through the timeline here. And Devin, I want you to keep me honest here, because I've got the memory of a goldfish, and the information on the PWS era is a little bit hard to come by. So I'm just going by, what I've gone through in the history, title history, your personal profile, and what I can piece together from my own memory as an
So
on again, off again head mod throughout the years. So let's May 17th, 2009, you begin your historic run as X champion, commonly referred to around this time as the X Division Championship.
hmm
When you won the vacant X Championship, your reign lasted 245 days. That reign is going to come up again later on as we go through the timeline, but you put that title on the map when you became that title, the first person to hold that title for more than 200 days. And after this win, it was regarded at the time as the longest reign, and it would be regarded as the longest reign for almost 10 years, 8 or 9 years, maybe.
6 years. It ended up being 6.
6, okay.
Yeah, you're good. You're good. Yeah.
You'd eventually lose the title to your on again, off again rival / ally, Ryan Rondo. And for those of you listening, that name is going to come up a lot as we go through this timeline. So stay tuned for that. In July of 2010, there's an interesting spot of history on the World Tag Team side of things, as we kind of touched on earlier. You'd go on to win the World Tag Team titles with Mike Curtis for a 77-day long reign. Then, and you're going to have to explain this one to all of us, Devin Golden and Moira Crawford would be the next tandem in that tag team's lineage. And then Devin Golden and Ashley Orion would go on to follow Devin Golden and Moira Crawford. So, few questions. What was going on with the tag team titles at this time? And follow-up question, who the fuck was Mike Curtis?
So, Matt was I wasn't mod at this time. This was like about 6-ish months before I became mod on Crossfire. And Matt had the idea. I don't know why he did this, but he had the idea. And I love Matt, by the way. I don't want anyone to think I'm shitting on Matt, but he had the idea. Like whenever a marriage is struggling and they're like, let's have a kid, that'll solve it, and it doesn't. Matt. So the tag team division was Ott, Paw, Ott, Bellum as the champs for their historic, if not uncompetitive, reign of more than 2 years or whatever it is. And the tag division was pretty much sparse. And so Matt said, "Oh, let's give Crossfire their own set of tag team titles. That'll help energize the division." Which, again,
Even though Otpok Sox Bellum was only defending their titles once every 2 months because they
right.
didn't have, any competition whatsoever, we thought we're going to go and create another tag team title. That would be the answer to our
Right.
problems.
Again, we're our marriage is struggling with let's have a kid. So, Bullseye Johnson and Carmine Grim Reaper, I believe, were the initial holders of the title from some really, light tournament, like a 4-team tournament or something. And this was after I lost the X championship, and I was ready to move on from the X title, and I was like, I want to be a tag. The next step is I want to be a tag team champion. So I think like I was still a face character, so I even like in open promo like posted like Devin Golden is looking for a tag team partner. If someone wants to come up to me and approach me, they can. So the handler for the character G Rich, who is scattered throughout the title histories, and he is actually he created the FWA. He's the original
Right.
founder of the FWA. Matt took over the reins from him as head mod like within a year. I don't think G Rich ever wanted to be a head mod for a long time, but he created the FWA. He was the one who was like, let's make a Fed. And he's like, he reached out. He's like, G Rich is not going to be the guy. Like, he's retired, but I had this secondary character that, I started with early on, and I kind of shelved him. His name is Mike Curtis, and he's kind of similar to Devin Golden. He's kind of like, he's like a high flyer. He's an aerial guy, and he's a face. And I was like, yeah, and I felt like, this is G Rich. Like in the moment, this is 2009. In the moment, G Rich coming to you and PMing you saying he wants to be a tag team partner, that's a big fucking deal. Like he's a big fucking deal in the FWA at this time. So I was like, yeah, I can learn from this guy, right? And I did. And so we lost our first tag team. Like us saying we're a tag team. Again, like the division is so light that like we just us announcing we're a tag team, we got a title shot. We didn't have to win anything. We didn't have to win a match. We just here's your title shot.
Right.
So we lost the first one, and we won the second one. And within like 2 weeks, again, I'm in college. I'm pretty sure his name was Greg. I'm pretty sure Greg was also in college. And he was like, hey man, like he reached out within like 2 weeks after we won the titles. He's like, hey man, like life is just picking up a lot. Like I'm gonna have to like shelve the Mike Curtis character. I'm really sorry. And I was like, that's no big deal. Like I get it. I don't want to be a dick about it. Like I get it. I can pivot and figure something out. So the main characters on Crossfire at this time were like Maura Crawford, Ashley O'Ryan, Stu St. Clair, like kind of Nemesis, I guess. Bullseye Johnson, etc. And I was like, who do I want? Who do I want to like be? Tag team partner. Who do I want to ask to be my partner? And I really liked the Maura Crawford, Ashley O'Ryan dynamic. Like I just always enjoyed them. I just and you remember that dynamic. Like that was a really interesting, like on again, off again couple relationship, and two really good writers. And so I was like, you know what? Like let's ask the handler for Maura Crawford, and she said yeah. And so we came out and we're like, you know what, Maura Crawford is my new partner, and we're a tag team champion. So that was like a whole separate reign, right? I didn't lose the titles. It was just and then the handler for Maura messaged me within 3 weeks and was like, I'm really sorry, I can't do it. And so we wrote in some angle where like Maura was pregnant and just found out, and of course she can't compete. And like, so Ashley was like an ally of us in the story, in kayfabe, in the storyline. So it was like very, very quickly and easy to pivot to just Ashley's now the tag team champion. And so that's 3 reigns right there. And 2 of them were, BS. And me and Ashley remained the champions with no one challenging us for like 5 months because there were no tag teams on Crossfire. And finally, I messaged Matt and I was like, "Look, Matt, like," and I was odd at this point. I was like, "Look, Matt, this whole second tag championships thing is terrible. Like, can we please just unify these belts? It was a 1-year experiment. We've had like 3 title matches in 1 year. Can we please unify these belts?" Yeah, and
Oh wow.
and I was a 3-time champion, and I had never lost any of the belts or defended them in that span. So I was like, "Can we please just unify the belts? It'll just be me and Ashley against Odd Bellum," and we did that match, and they won. Because I don't think Jabber was really in a place where he could like put out a spectacular promo. So that was the end of that stretch for the Devin Golden character.
And on the subject of your tag team history, the Ashley Orion character is one that's going to come up again here in a bit. But let's pivot to July. No. This wasn't July. I believe this was November of 2010. So not long after that historic X title reign and all that mess with the World Tag Team Championships, you'd go on to defeat Stu St. Clair for your first World Championship on November of 2010. Do you recall, first of all, what pay-per-view did that take place on, because it's not in the history books, and how did it feel in that moment to win that championship? I know that you said ultimately you later felt that you won it too fast, but in the moment, how did that
It was
feel?
Mile High. So the storyline was there was a lot of like Stu versus Wolf in the year leading up to that. And so I think that the idea was let's get something fresh and different. And or maybe it was Stu versus Darnell Porter. It was Stu versus somebody. And let's get someone new and different. And so they did like a contendership match with people who've never won the title, and I was in it, and I won that match. And then I was like, I'm going against Stu. Like, there's an expectation level, and I think there's even like a mental expectation level within the mods. So like I never really expected I was going to win. But I wrote like this kind of ode to Matt Boudreau, who was a character at the time. We all know him, like you know him, like everyone knows the Matt. Everyone from that time knows the Matt Boudreau character, and he in kayfabe died. So I was like, I wrote some promo that was like an ode to him. When I saw that I won, I was surprised. I mean, happy, like I was thrilled, right? Like, oh my god, I won! Like this is incredible. But I wasn't expecting it, and it didn't. Again,
Yeah,
it did feel like even in the moment that I'm going through these emotions, there is in the head like this feels. It's not how I thought it. It's not how I planned that this would like. It really wasn't. It did feel pretty fast, if that makes sense. Like it did feel really kind of fast, and
right.
even like going from I'm in a contendership match to I'm getting a world title shot like 2 shows later, it did feel kind of fast. And so, the fact that it happened so quickly, I think there wasn't a lot of buildup of like excitement for me to like feel like 100% positive about it. But at the same time, the most prevalent emotion that I felt was like, holy shit, I beat Stu. Which is again, that's a
Right.
big I'm gonna say this a lot about people in the past that like some people might not have like any sort of reference point because they just joined within the last few years. Beating Stu St. Clair is a big fucking deal. And especially at that time. And so the fact that I did beat him, I think
Right.
it it was just some affirmation of like okay, like I really do think that I think that I'm either at that top level or I can be at that top level, and that's like there's something that heartwarming about that. So
Yeah, and you are have always
right.
historically been a fan of the underdog, big wins. So for you to be, the pivotal like underdog moment here for you,
It felt,
I can't
yeah.
imagine that didn't fucking feel great. And then you lost it on the first defense. Who did you drop it to? I don't have the title history in front of me.
I dropped it to Stu.
Okay.
So I'm a big believer in not being stagnant, especially at the top when you get to the top or when you win a
Right.
title. So I had Golden turn heel pretty quickly after winning the title because I didn't want him to be this like I did it, look at me guy. I didn't want to do that, and so
Okay, and this is pre Rotten
this is
Gold
pre,
heel turn.
so this was the first version of the Rotten Gold heel turn. So he called himself the Rotten Gold, and he like burned the title on Crossfire, like he set it on fire, which
Oh
is like a
wow.
stupid fucking thing. It doesn't make any fucking sense, but I don't even know if gold burns. So, but he burned the title, and it was like I think the line was, the greatest trick the devil ever did was made you believe he didn't exist and stuff like that, is which is like I'm implying that I'm the devil or I'm some bad guy. It didn't work. The heel turn didn't work. It didn't stick. I didn't find my footing with it. But it I still believe in the idea that like I don't like to be stagnant, and after I win the title, I don't want to be the same character, constantly throughout that at the top. I feel like I have to be a moving target, and um, that was just a failed attempt at it. And I don't think that the idea was wrong. I just think that the execution was wrong. But yeah, I ended up losing the title. It was like a 4-way match at Trial by Fire. Me, Stu, Wolf, and Ashley, and Stu won it back from me. I actually think I may have scored the lowest of all the four. I just didn't have a footing really with the character in the direction where it was headed, and so I kind of pivoted pretty quickly back to like being a face afterward. But it was an attempt. It was an attempt at writing the Rotten Gold, and then later on, I revisited it and was more successful.
Yeah, as I say, I can't imagine that heel turn lasted too long because as we were moving down the timeline, sometime in mid 2011, Devin Golden, who for some people they may have considered him the face of Crossfire at the time. A lot of people still considered Stu the face of Crossfire at the time, but regardless, it was Devin Golden who led the charge in a feud with Fight Night's Great Siege stable, a stable consisting of Otpox Bellum, Gabrielle, Chris Kennedy, Jabade Jones, Zaire Wyoming, and Saddle Sally. You had feuded with the stable. They were invading Crossfire, I believe. This ultimately led to the creation of the short-lived
Yeah.
Crossfire Siege. What can you tell us about the Crossfire Siege? Who was all in it? How did it come about? Like the idea for it come about, and what led it to fizzle out so quickly compared to its Fight Night counterpart?
So the idea was, so me and Ashley lost to Ot Bellum in the unification match, and then there was not going to be a tag. I was a mod at the time, so I knew this. There was not going to be a tag title match at Back in Business, and I also didn't really have anything planned for the Golden character because he wasn't world champion anymore, and I didn't want to go for the world title, and so I reached out to Kill Switch, who's the handler of APAB, and also Matt, and I said, what if we get a rematch, Ashley and Golden against APAB? Only, there has to be some sort of carrot. Why would APAB agree to this match? And the carrot is if Golden and Ashley lose, Golden has to form the Crossfire Great Siege, and it's like an expansion of the Great Siege, right? And we lost because again, I don't think Jabber was in the best place to like do some 5,000 word promo to compete.
Right.
So and I took it and ran with it. I was fine with it, and so I was Golden was the head of the Crossfire Great Siege, and it was on to him to like recruit excuse me, people for this faction. And I was like, well, it's gonna have to be like a different version of the Fight Night Great Siege because I don't, the Golden character obviously doesn't want to be in it. So, I'm just gonna recruit a bunch of up and coming people and kind of make it more evolution style. Um, and that was kind of the inspiration, was to kind of make it like an evolution-y type of stable. Not like I didn't want to grab Stu for it. I didn't want to grab Nemesis for it or Darnell Porter for it. I wanted to grab people who were coming up from the X Championship, and so that was why it was Ryan Rondo, Xavier Xander Xerxes, which is Carter 007, is actually someone who used to do e-fedding with Tig and Cyrus on a different fed. So I think that's really cool.
Oh
And
wow.
if Carter ever listens to this, please jump back in and join because he was a great character. You remember him probably a little bit, at least vaguely.
Yeah.
He was like Mike Parr before Mike Parr was here.
Right. Cameron Cross, was he in
Cameron
it?
Cross,
Or
and I
my
think Cameron Cross was the fourth, and he didn't last. I think his handler kind of faded away. And so the point was evolution, but there's like some inner strife between like the Rondo character and XXX because they're like feuding for the X title, and it's like XXX doesn't like Golden's leadership, and there's just a lot of like inner turmoil, kind of like what Evolution had. And it all kind of led to a back in business match a year later in 2012 between XXX and Xavier Xander Xerxes. I say XXX as if it's like adult film type thing. Xavier Xander Xerxes and Devin Golden,
right.
which Golden won, but the idea was to put Xavier over, and hopefully I did. And then kind of spinning from that was the Golden Rondo Sunrise Sunset tag team. So it was never intended to be a long-term thing. I think we started it, and it was always about like trying to give like younger guys more spotlight and like more of like a story. But the story was always inner turmoil, and so I think when you start off day one with inner turmoil, the idea is there's never like going to be a lot of legs to it. And that was
Right.
fine. That was perfectly fine. Because I don't even think the Fight Night Great Siege lasted much longer than that anyway. So
No, no, and the Great Siege has always historically been compared to it's always been like considered the FWA's version of the NWO, and I think that when we get into the Crossfire Siege and all the infighting, it really does like kind of look like what that
yeah,
1999 NWO
yeah,
looked
yeah.
like.
We
You
were
know what
that
I
we were the
mean?
NWO Black and
But
White. We were like the
right.
I forget exactly who was in charge of it. Maybe the Giant was the best one, and then he left like within a month. That's yeah. We were the B level version of that. Yeah, for sure.
Right. So moving on to 2012, big year for Devin Golden. So in October 10th of 2012, you win the tag team championships by defeating the Wolf Pack, which was Adrian Wolf and Sarah Wolf. This reign would controversially turn into a co-champion reign when they merged their titles with Vodka and Venom. So this
Yep.
co-champion thing lasted until June of the following year, when Vodka and Venom would win them entirely. So this is just me talking off the cuff here. I, along with many others, feel like Sunrise Sunset should have won that initial match. I know that I believe I graded them to win the match against Vodka and Venom. I'm not afraid to say this out loud. As much as I love Stu, I've been very outspoken against instances of politicking, and I think that this is an instance where backstage politics halted the momentum for Sunrise Sunset, which was at the time, in my opinion, one of the freshest tag teams the FWA had seen at that time. How did it feel for you? And you can be honest here.
Yeah.
How did it feel for you when they went with when the mods decided to go with that direction on the whole co-tag team championship?
So I was a mod. So in August of 2012, I was head mod for about a year and a half. I became head mod in like 2011. That's when it was kind of dead. And I took it kind of from Matt because Matt was too busy in real life, and then like August 2012 is kind of when I handed it to you, and I was like, look, man, I don't want to like keep doing this long term. Like and you were very invested and engaged, and I think you were perfect for it. And so then I jumped back in, and back into the mod team within about 5-6 months. So I was back in the mod, so I was kind of seeing it all kind of play out behind the scenes, and I was the one who actually suggested the co-champs because I wanted to just find a compromise to the situation. But the scenario was, and it there's some effects, some fallout from the scenario is like even plays out today, um, in terms of like grading and deciding results. So 3 people graded Sunrise Sunset to win. One grader, Matt, graded Vodka Venom to win by such a wide margin that Vodka and Venom had the averages by decimal points, but it was 3-1. I was firmly on the side of it would be completely ridiculous and unfair for Vodka and Venom to win this match because of one grader's skewed grades with this massive ridiculous margin compared to 3 who it sounds like the electoral college in a way.
Right.
And
It's exactly what it sounds like.
right. And so, but Stu was like, this is how it's always been done. It's averages. Averages, averages are king. And there was just no one was coming off of their no one was everyone Stu was digging his heels in. No one was coming off of their perch. And so I that's when I said, what if we do a co-champs? And then we'll just settle at the next pay-per-view and we'll do a whole angle with it. It was frustrating. And today, at least how I've been doing it, I always remind mods and anyone who asks, I say averages are not the end all be all. Averages are not the king. If it's 2-1, it's 2-1. The 2 wins. That's what wins, right? So, and a big reason why I firmly say that is because of what happened in this instance. And yeah, man, I mean, it was really, really, really frustrating because the same fucking thing happened to you against Ashley. The same fucking thing happened to you against Ashley when you lost the world title. It was one grader with a big margin that skewed the averages. And it shouldn't happen that way. And, Shake was really upset. Like when he found out like what went down, Shake was really like, and he was younger and like he had only been in the FWA for a few years at that point. He was I don't want to speak for him. I don't, he really should speak for himself with this, but he was upset. He felt like this was bullshit and I felt like this was bullshit, but I was a mod who was like, we just got to move forward. Like, how do we move forward from this? All right, let's just co-champs. No one was happy with that, but like no one was like digging their heels in against it either, right? Like it was like we can move on even though no one's happy. Like everyone's just kind of like, oh, whatever, let's just move on. I felt like we won. I felt like we didn't lose that match. It's one of the few times I really feel that way. But we did the triple threat the next show against Wolf's character, his Japanese character, and I forget who else. And Vodka and Venom won that match, and I do feel like Vodka and Venom did win that match. So it was, at the end of the day, it is what it is, But yeah, it was politicking because like again, Stu was great as a character, and I think that there was a time when Nash was a great mod. But if you flipped it and it was Vodka and Venom who won 3-1 but lost by averages, I'm pretty sure Nash would have been pissed. Yeah, so I don't know, but thank you for asking about it. Thank you for asking about it.
Not for nothing, man. I did avenge you when I ended Vodka and Venom. I ended that reign for them, and I ended their subsequent reign. So I ended their last two reigns.
You did.
So.
Yes, you did, because it was you and it was Daniela and Gabby, right?
Right. They beat them after they took it off of Sunrise Sunset, and then the Kennedy Carter administration sent them packing from their final reign in a decided manner. I'm not ashamed to admit, but yeah, man. And just to touch on Sunrise Sunset, because I don't want the story of Sunrise Sunset to be overshadowed with the controversy that ended their reign, but it was a really good fucking angle. Like the way you and Shake brought them together, the promos that you guys were doing in that time frame. Like I said a bit ago, it was the freshest tag team the FWA had seen in quite some time. And I'll maintain that, they held that title of just, the most compelling and interesting tag team we had seen for about the next 4 years or so. But
yeah, I mean, I wanted to work with Shake. I felt like the Ryan Rondo character started out was very similar to the Golden character in like that White Knight babyface way. Around the Crossfire Great Siege time angle, I kind of transitioned Golden into being a more of like a veteran mentor. I want to work with the younger characters and the newer characters, and Rondo kind of fit that mold. I think the thing that we did that I loved the most was the concept of like we'd had 2 separate promos, which people did. Like 2 handler tag teams often did 2 separate promos, but we would connect them on like a timeline form.
exactly.
And no one was really doing that. Now it happens now, like MVH and Gerald Grayson just did something like that recently. But at the time that we did it, no one was really doing that. And I thought that it definitely made us stand out, and it definitely was like a really fresh concept that was kind of a signature of us and our promos. And we also kind of made like our team like we beat Bellum in a title match, which was like a really big moment because it was like I lost, like the Golden character lost these guys like 2 freaking times, like they were a thorn in his side. So we beat him, and then like we did like a news section that just like it had a bunch of random YouTube clips of people doing karaoke, and it was supposed to be like Rondo and Golden went out and did karaoke. We tried to we had like antics, like we kind of made ourselves goofy and fun. So we kind of had like a bit of a weird DX, like a Triple H Shawn Michaels DX vibe going on, but um,
Right.
yeah, man, it was just a lot of fun to work with Shake, and I think I never expected it to lead to the rivalry that it was, but I'm glad that Sunrise Sunset was not, as a tag team, was not the only chapter in the Sunrise Sunset story, if that makes sense.
It wouldn't be the last chapter because as we go down the timeline, we're moving beyond to we're going to move beyond 2013 and 2014 because Golden was kind of taking a little bit of a break as you focused on Shannon. But in if I believe that's correct. If I'm missing something in those years that Golden had done, please correct me. But I believe that
No, you're right.
so then in 2015, in June of 2015, we'd go on and add another chapter in the storied history between Ryan Rondo and Devin Golden, as you pointed out, when you defeated him for your second world title under the Rotten Gold heel persona. I believe it was. No, that wasn't the second one that Wolf got a little bit upset about. I believe it was the third one, if I'm
Yeah,
not
that was the
mistaken.
third. That was the third one.
But
Yeah, we'll get to
we'll
it.
get to that one. But so I do believe, yeah. So that one, you defeated Ryan Golden, Ryan
You're
Rondo.
good.
But it doesn't stop there because then you would go ahead and drop the title back to him just a month later, I believe, or was it 2 months later?
It was the next pay per view.
So close to 2 months in real time.
Yeah, man, that year. So like we did the brand split, the second brand split, right? And Golden came back from his hiatus as the kind of the silent rotten gold type character in like August of 2014. And like my idea, I was a thing of mod, and my idea was I want to start Golden at the bottom of the card. So he was like facing Mike Mundane and shit like that. Um, and he went on like some 11 match win streak, 12 match win streak until he was at the very top. And he lost. So we did the brand split, and we're like, the world heavyweight champion is going to be whoever wins Carnal Contendership, and it was Rondo and Golden in the last two, and Rondo won, which was like awesome to think about. And then they did the back in business match, which was like Wolf. It was Wolf, Rondo, Golden, and someone else, and Rondo won again. And then they had the one-on-one match that Golden won, and then they had a triple threat match with Stu that Rondo won. So Rondo won it back from Golden with Stu involved as kind of a third wheel. I think Stu was in that back in business match. Man, Rondo and Golden faced off in some manner 6 times in 2015. Like they with Wolf and Stu sprinkled in, they ran that shit
Yeah.
at the top. And like it's so cool. Like it's on Wrestling Clip.
Yeah,
You can
man.
go look at it. It's so cool to think back to like that story was really the driving force of Crossfire during that 1 year brand split. Crossfire was really fun, and we just couldn't keep it afloat because of the numbers and stuff like that across the two brands. But like the main event was Crossfire was a really good story. And when I won it back from Rondo, or when I won it the second time, when Golden beat Rondo, when I said earlier about like the first time I won it against Stu, like it felt very quick. It wasn't how I expected it. This one felt like this was right. Like this was right in the timeline. Like this is how it's supposed to go.
You were at peace with it.
I was at peace with it. Yeah, I was very much at peace with it. I liked the fact that Golden won it from Rondo. I liked the fact that Rondo beat Golden at Back in Business beforehand. Like I was at very much peace with it and the story and how it it all played out. And yeah, man, and I wanted to win it again at some point because like I just wasn't happy with the first title reign, so I wanted to win it again, even if it was short. I've never successfully defended a world title with Golden, so and that's fine. I don't care, but I was really happy to make sure that I wasn't like a one hit wonder. in that regard.
I want to see, this is just a personal request. I want to see like a ESPN 30 for 30 style piece, an open promo by you and Shake chronicling the history of Ryan Rondo and Devin Golden, going all the way back from the X division through the tag team division to the world title divisions. I think that would be a fucking compelling read. But 2015 was a hell of a year for you though, because not
Yeah.
somewhere in the middle of you and Rondo playing catch with the World Championship in September of 2015, you'd go on to defeat Kaizen for your second X Championship. Now, walk us through the story surrounding Kaizen breaking your X title record, because the way I remember it, it was Kaizen was coming up on breaking your record. He was forced to face you as he was about to beat it. Somehow you would go on to win, but Kaizen was still able to break the record by a few minutes. Explain that one to us.
It's the coolest fucking story. It's the coolest fucking story. So, John even recently told me, he's like, I remember not even being in the FWA and hearing about this storyline. So, Kaizen was the X champion. He was really freaking good. He was getting close. Like, Golden lost the title back to Stu. I'm sorry, back to Rondo. I think this was the anniversary show. Like, so Rondo and Stu had a match and Rondo won. Because Rondo at that point, Shake had surpassed Stu in terms of writing capability at that point. So Kaizen was getting close to the 8-month and X number of days reign that Golden had. I think it was like 8 months and 10 days. And Golden was a heel, and he's trying to be that possessive. I'm going to protect my record and put down the young and up and coming guy, and we're going to do this at the anniversary show. And Kaizen being the face fighting champion is like, fucking bring it on. Who cares? So I won the promo outright and like try and win the title, but I didn't want to stop him from actually breaking the record, right? So
Right.
when I saw the grades come in and I saw that I won, I was mod, and I was like, all right, this is how we're gonna do it. We're gonna have the show be outdoors. We're gonna have there be a rain delay, and so like in the show starts and there's like a timestamp of like 9:30, and anyone who's like reading and not a mod and not in the know is like, why the fuck are they telling us what time it is in the show? Like, why does that matter? And as we're getting close, it's like we're saying it's 10, it's 10:30, like halfway through the card, it's 11. Then it's like before the X Championship match, which I think was like the second to last match on the card, it's 11:30 or 11:20 or something like that. And I think at that point, like it's like it rings in their head, right? And maybe even was mentioned by a commentator. So in the match, as Golden is kind of getting close to winning, it's getting close to midnight. Kaizen, fucking favorite thing in wrestling is the mid-match double turn. I fucking love it. Kaizen decides to be the smarmy heel, roll out of the ring, and basically run, kind of like avoid Golden for like a few minutes until we get past midnight. And it's like, it switches, right? It's like now Kaizen is like the kind of the shithead heel, and it's like there's empathy for Golden. He was gonna fucking win the title. He was gonna protect his record. Kaizen kind of got the record on kind of BS tactics, and then the match ends after midnight with Golden winning, but Kaizen was still the champion at some point on this next day. Right. So he gets credit for being the champion on that day, and therefore he beats Golden's record by 1 day. And really it's by like 5 minutes or something like that. Man, that was the fucking coolest story. It was the coolest fucking story. And then
that is so cool, man. It's fucking, you love to see it, man. That's the type of shit that if it happened in real wrestling, it would be referenced on documentaries for years to come. Like it's all they would fucking talk about.
Right. And like, and I was able to, Kaizen was able to get me back by winning the world title from me. Well, I know we'll probably get that in a second, but I was glad to be able to like kind of put Kaizen over as a heel and then have it kind of repay in the back end in a bigger way for the world title.
Right.
Yeah. Anyway.
So let's get to that, man, because just to put a bow tie on this incredible 2015 between Golden, Rondo, Kaizen, just this era for you that is just peppered with these cool moments and these back and forth, like, bookings. You won the championship from Rondo, who beat you for the championship 2 months prior. You ended up winning it again from him, much to the chagrin of Wolf. But then you fucking dropped the title a month later to Kaizen, who you had beaten the X title for. So there's this whole thing in 2015 between you and Rondo facing each other, like you said, 6 times. You and Kaizen had faced each other at least 2 times, titles changing hands each time. It was just fucking, you gotta consider 2015 to be Devin Golden's like ultimate year, not just in terms of what he accomplished, like with title wins, but just in terms of the angles that he was pumping out, man. It was just beautifully written, well-crafted angles, one after another after another.
Yeah. I mean, no, I 2015 was my favorite year, like with the Golden character, easily. Like, and that was Mile High Massacre. So it was like Golden, Lucian Ace, Rondo, Stu, a couple other people probably. And that's when I wrote a promo that was loosely inspired from Wolf's Meet Your Maker promo, which is like ended up getting Sayer fucking banned. It was loosely inspired where like
It's the promo that keeps giving back, man.
right. But they had a conversation. Golden and TGO had a conversation, and then I did like there's like I'm in the hall. There's like a video thing in the Hall of Fame. You loved, like, I remember you gave me my review and you were like, "This is the best promo you ever written." It struck an emotional chord with me. Yeah, man, like that one was my favorite because I wasn't supposed to win that match. Like that I was, my time had passed type thing. Like, kind of like what I just did on Meltdown X. Like, and it was just kind of like expect the unexpected. I loved it, and yeah, Wolf got mad. Wolf got really mad, and he quit. But it is what it is. I don't know. But he that was when I think back to like before Meltdown X, when I think back to all my title wins, that one was probably the one like that I have the most like romantic emotions about, just because like I won it as a face, and I won it with a promo that like I was really, 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 really proud of. And it just kind of like was a bow tie, like you said. It was like a bow tie on everything. So yeah.
Right. And so between 2015 and I feel like there's a 3 or 4 year stretch now where um, Devin wasn't winning any titles. I think you had begun. Correct me if I'm wrong. You started a second run with Shannon in this time. Is that correct?
Started the second run with Shannon. That's when she won the world title and did the Cyrus feud and did the Bell feud. Tried to make something of with XYZ. It just wasn't in like a place in real life really to like commit fully to it. But yeah, Golden retired. He had like an official retirement match with Rondo at Trial by Fire, I think, in 2015. And Golden Rondo won the match, and later on became world champion again, and like unified the belts. But anyway, at that point, I was like, that's it. Like I could not have written a better final year to the Golden character. I'm done with him. I'm out. But loose ends were left. Like at his Hall of Fame ceremony, the Michael Garcia character attacks him to get himself over as a heel. Golden was brought in as like the GM for NGW, I think it was, the developmental brand, and then he was made a commentator. So like just him kind of being able to stick around in the universe kind of led to his return, which I won't let happen, or I won't want to happen, I guess, the next time. But
Right.
yeah, he was like basically quote unquote retired. And then in 2019, I think it was, you reached out to me as I was kind of coming back into being a mod and helping out at least. You reached out and was like, I think at the very least, you and Garcia have to do this back in business match because you guys are commentators and there's a lot of heat there between the two of you.
Let me just back up a little bit, because one thing that did happen in that gap between 2015 and 2019, we have to mention class of 2016. Devin Golden was inducted into the FWA Hall of Fame alongside Stu St. Clair that year. They were the only two inductions that year, so obviously big moment, well deserving. Then as we move on to 2019, yeah, I did put Golden and Garcia on commentary, and I don't know why I started doing this. I just wrote them as, Golden was this like laid back, like he was obviously a face commentator, and Garcia was your classic heel Bobby Heenan commentator who just had a was very contrarian to everything that Golden said, or Golden was very contrarian to whatever Garcia said, and there was some animosity brewing. Garcia had been talking about returning to the ring for quite some time, so I think that's when I reached out to you and I was like, "Hey, man, if you don't know if you are planning on coming back, and this is just how manipulative I am, was like, if you wanted to, like I pitched that to you, and I'm glad it happened because you came back, and then in 2020, shortly thereafter, you had your resurgence with the character where you're just fucking kicking ass and taking names, man. A fucking November 28th of 2020, you and Randy Ramon began your 98-day reign as the tag team champions for Golden Rock, the elite tag team tournament. It featured 12 tag teams, 7 of which were randomly drawn. It was held in the summer, of that year. The concept was any team that lost twice, I believe, was eliminated. It lasted half a year until Randy Ramon and Devin Golden, who were a randomly drawn team, by the way, won the finals at Mile High. Interestingly enough, Golden Rock were the only tag team to not suffer a single loss throughout that tournament. Eventually, they would go on to lose the titles to TXR, a team, as all of you listening will know, consisted of Danny Toner and Ryan Rondo. So another chapter in Golden versus Rondo, man. You can't escape this guy.
No, it's the greatest. It's the greatest and most persistent story ever told.
And I know you were a fan of Randy Ramon. Like, you always showered the guy with praise. He was one of your guys. So how did it feel to, like, you're winning your first title here in fucking 5 years at least, and you're doing it alongside somebody who is, in your like point of view, has always been on the come up, somebody you've always supported. How did that feel for you? How did it feel for him? Like, what was that like when you guys won the titles?
I mean, it was great, especially to go with how losing in the tournament, to beat. We beat Michelle and Gerald Grayson to like beat a writer like SS and a writer like Jam. It's crazy. Like, I have never, Shake's an incredible writer. Like, Shake can outright me, I think. And I'll get to what I mean by that later on. But like, I've never met someone who, like Sean, the handler for Ramon, who who can come to the table with concepts that like go above and beyond the concepts that I can create. And like, it's so interesting and fun to be able to work with someone that creative. And it was, you know, I didn't really know how long, like after the Garcia thing ended at Back in Business in 2020, I didn't know how long the Golden character was going to stick around for. I didn't really have a direction for it. I didn't really have a lot of energy for it either. And getting paired with Ramon and working with Ramon gave me the energy for this next run. Like, it gave me the energy for the run that I'm on right now. Just working with someone, being in a tag team, having someone that's committed to it, having someone coming with these incredible concepts, like doing an Office parody promo where like it's in like a script format, like the promo itself is in a script format, right? Like doing like the Groundhog Day type thing where we just keep circling back to the same day. Doing like the Freaky Friday concept where we switch bodies. Like, it was just, it just like, it reminded me how much fucking fun this is. And it gave me the energy because I just was in a place where I was like, I just feel like you get to a place where you think that you've done everything. there is to do, writing wise, accomplishment wise, whatever. And that's when it gets kind of boring and you just kind of feel stuck in the mud doing it. And I felt even after returning that I was still in that place. I just like, I'm back, but like, I don't know, like, I just don't. I just feel like I've done everything. Like, what is there to do aside from win the North American title? Like, whatever. Um, it's not whatever winning the North American title. It's just like in my head, I was like, I don't know if that's a big enough reason for me to stick around. And being with Sean, and being with having Golden and Ramon and Golden Rock and going through the tournament just gave me the energy because I was like, holy shit! Like we're doing stuff that is so wild, and it's reminding me like I haven't done everything. Like there is still more stuff I can do, and there is like more fun that I can tap into. Um, and so winning the titles was kind of like an affirmation of all of that. Like it was like a achievement of all of the fun that we had. And then it was also like Sean, the Ramon character. It was like Kaizen, Ramon, and Toner all joined in 2014 at the same time. They were the first three that really joined when we moved to Wrestling Click. So there's always a soft spot for them, those three, to be able to find success. And so to be able to win the titles with one of them is like, it's a cool thing. And then to be able to drop the titles to one of the other ones is also kind of a cool thing. So yeah, I think in short, like I've been talking for a long time and rambling, like that initial run to that first title reign with Golden Rock was just, that energized me to make this run like the 3-year run that it's going to be versus a 5-month run, which is what I thought it might have been at first. So hats off to Sean, honestly, like he deserves the credit for that.
Yeah, I can, it definitely seems like it was a group effort, but I could definitely tell that he reinvigorated something in you. You guys lost the titles to TXR on June 19th, back in business 15. Golden Rock would main event back in business 15, night one. Another feather in your cap right there in your list of accomplishments. Main eventing back in business, was that the second time? Because I know you were in the 4-way.
Yeah. So so the 4-way wasn't even like the last match. It was like the second to last. Okay. I think Gabby versus Drew Stevenson. Or I don't, it was Black Mark on the Fed. But yeah, that was like the last match.
We can retroactively consider that the main event.
Swap them around. We'll just go into the post and edit.
Right. Yeah, because I feel like we're giving Drew Stevenson the Chris Benoit treatment, where we're just deleting everything from his.
I wasn't even mod whenever that went down. Shake was head mod. I applaud him for having knowing what was best and just fucking saying, yeah, you're not fucking welcome back. Anyway. So this was the first time that I ever like ended a back in business show. Yeah, sorry, this is the first time I ever ended a show, and so it was special, man. It was special to kind of get the vote to be able to be the match to end night one. Like it was special to know that like our feud was viewed that highly, that we had done such great work in it. Like, honest to God, man, the people that carried this feud were in my opinion, were TXR. Like they were great. Like
they were great, man. But in that promo that you guys won with, it's I maintain that it's one of the best promos that I've ever read. I think in my promo review, I said that it blew my balls off, and I wasn't being hyperbolic. I don't have balls anymore because of that promo, but which is incredible because I ended up having a kid somehow. But and not for nothing, man. Like the fucking TXR promo would have beaten any other fucking promo that you could have possibly stacked against it. It was such an incredible promo from Toner and Rondo. And you guys managed to come up with something so wildly innovative and original. A promo that you have to read multiple times over just to get the full heft of it. Like, I don't know if it was you or Sean who came up with that idea, but hats off to both of you guys for pulling it off.
Sean did. Sean gets it. Sean thought of it. Sean thought of doing a Goosebump inspired Choose Your Own Adventure. And again, man, it's that type of thing. Like I've never like Shake is like the guy who can outright you. Like he can outright me on a word to word basis, but like I pride myself. All right, I hope that this comes across and people agree. I pride myself on concepts. Like, okay, I wasn't going to say this until the very end, but like, I feel like I can't consistently outright people like Shake and you and SS and even Tig and sometimes ETE. And only way I can compete at the top level is by having these ridiculous concepts. So that being said, I've never worked with someone like Sean who out concepts me and comes to the table with these concepts that I never would have fucking thought of. And I just, yeah, man, like, to me, like, I've read both promos, obviously. I definitely had like bias towards my own promo, towards our promo. But man, like, if you take the concept of choose your own adventure out of the promo and you compare just those two, Golden Rock and TXR's promo, like, I kind of feel like TXR might have had it, but you can't take the concept out. Like, you can't take creativity out of it, right? So you can't take innovation out of it. And it's
I think I might have even said that to you.
right. It's
In that you guys won like by way of creativity. That's where you scored like big in my book. But that in itself was such a marginally big score that it really fucking set you guys apart. Like I said, both tremendous promos, but hats off to Sean for coming up with that shit because that was incredible.
yeah, man. Sean, it's the most innovative promo I've ever been part of, like ever worked on. And it was Sean's idea, and he thought of it, and like we worked on it. We worked on like the specifics and like the actual like details of it and like the pathways and stuff together. But Sean conceptualized it, and like, just, it's fucking ridiculous, like how creative he is and like how innovative he is. And again, I think like similarly, like I can read a Sean versus a Tig promo, like I think Sean gets it on the concept. Like if he wins on concept. Versus Tig, who like is very much like word to word, very very fucking good. But anyway, that's getting more into them and their rivalry, which deserves its own fucking 30 for 30 fucking
Right, right.
ESPN thing. Um,
Really, yeah, because they're on the inverse of Golden versus Rondo. It's Toner versus Ramon. Yeah, man. But so trying to remember where we were. So you guys beat TXR for the titles at Back in Business. You pick up another reign before ultimately losing to Gangstars, I believe. Alistair Black and Crash. The Gangstars' reign was cut short when on December 26, 2021, Golden Rock snuck onto Meltdown.
yeah,
I fucking love this because it's just like I don't want to pat myself on the whole
yeah,
on my
man.
back, but I feel like it did borrow a page out of the La Muerte Blanca of winning the X title book. But they wore masks. They came back as Osos Locos, and this was a gimmick they held until Mile High when they defeated the Gangstars and three other teams to win the Mile High Massacre. So now we've got reign number 3 in the books for Golden Rock. Right now, you guys got to be feeling like on top of the world as a tag team because right now you're only 2 reigns away from matching the record set by Vodka and Venom for most reigns from a tag team. And right now, you're still the current tag team champions, which is incredible to me. And then on January 24th, 22, you son of a bitch, you won the World Championship for a 4th
Yeah.
time, which we've already touched on for a bit. I've only been away from the FWA for about a month now. As anyone listening knows, I just had a new kid, so had to step away for just a little bit. But in my short time away, man, you won both the tag team championships and the world championship, and you are fucking golden 2 belts right now.
So, yeah, man. I was, after we lost to the Gangstars, I was kind of like ready to say like, all right, that's it. Like, I mean, maybe I come back for like some sort of retirement angle, but like that's it. Like we're good. Golden Rock is good. And then I was watching Nitro, as you do, and I was watching the episode. I think it was in the summer of '97 when DDP dressed up as La Parka and to get a shot at Savage and beat him. And then I went out and started cutting the grass, and I was like, man, maybe we could do something like that. Um, and like as I'm cutting the grass, I'm kind of conceptualizing what this thing is, and I messaged John, and I definitely pulled it a bit. It was a bit taken from La Muerta Blanca for sure.
Which I apologize. I don't lose your train of thought. But as some of you know, La Parca was the base pick for La Muerta Blanca. I shit you not, Devin. It was that exact same DDP La Parca moment that inspired the La Muerta Blanca thing. So I think that's wildly interesting to me. But anyway,
That's
as
so
you were.
awesome. I and I messaged John and I was like, what if we did this? How ethical is it? Shit like shit like that that's in my head. And we ended up winning the titles. I mean, it was fucking cool. But we were done. Like we were ready to be done. Like I was ready to be done, and I was like, you know what? Like, let's just do it one more fucking time. And um, and if we lose at Mile High, that's fine. At least we can just say we did it. What we gave it one more fucking shot, right? Like at least we know. At least we're facing our mortality versus like how sudden it was after we lost to the Gang Stars the first time. Because again, Ramon and Golden were drafted as separate brands, so it's like they really shouldn't be a tag team. Um, that was the whole Game 7 thing. So like I wanted to kind of do something that was, or we want to do something that was like, let's at least take it one more shot. And we did this musical inspired promo that I won, and it was kind of awkward at times. It didn't really flow that great, but I guess the concept was good enough. And then yeah, man, I never had any intention of going for the world title. We can talk about this, kind of what led up to it, but yeah, man, the world title, I wasn't in the plans, but at the same way as the third reign when, Wolf got mad, like there's some romantic, like, there's some romantic coolness to it, in my opinion. So anyway.
I fucking knew something was up, man. When I read that first Osos Locos promo, I was like, this is somebody. Like, I didn't know that it was you and Ramon. I don't think that if you read those earlier promos from them over, there's no way that you would know, but you could just tell because some newbies out the gate like that with they definitely had some knowledge on these, this FWA world that they were coming into and shit like that. So I don't think I was alone in that. I think there were,
Yeah.
a lot of people could pick up on that. But hey, man, hats off to you. Me and Cyrus faced them, and I got my promo in late because I misunderstood the time. And you had messaged me, and you were like, "Hey, I don't think you got your promo in time," or so. I'm
Yeah.
paraphrasing here, but if I knew then what I know now, I would be like, "You son of a bitch."
And we
but but yeah, man, that was fucking great. That was incredible. Like,
our promo against you guys was, so we were imitating other teams, and our promo against you guys was Ghost Dog.
yeah,
So like I was like, I of the three, I had the most fun writing that because I had the most fun writing Lord Dog. So a little bit of a hat tip to you.
yeah, that's what. And reading that promo too was when it really like kind of like when I was like, this is somebody. This is fucking somebody. This isn't some guy who who came in off the streets, Googled eFed and found us. Like, this is somebody with extensive knowledge. But fucking again, man, hats off to you. That was fucking super cool. But let's so we've made it through the timeline. So really quickly, let's talk about that world title one last time because I do want to know, since you brought it up, what what compelled you to really, because the promo that you wrote was fucking, you hit it out the park. I loved it. I read it last night. What compelled you to basically come back or not come back for the world title? I mean to say, and just kind of hit it out the park with this like emotionally driven, like really fucking hefty promo that you put out.
Um, so John John announced that there was going to be this bounty type of concept where all the past world champions, because Meltdown's roster is kind of former world champion heavy.
Right.
Cyrus is on it, Sullivan's on it, Kennedy's on it, Golden is on it. So he had this concept of like all the past world champions are going to be able to compete in this bounty, kind of hard, the 24/7 hardcore title type of thought
Right.
process or concept. And anyone can, and they can just submit a promo, and that's fine. So when he first said it, I was like, I'm not gonna fucking do it. And then a few days after he announced it, and after I was like, I'm not gonna do it, I was like, let me just start writing some concepts, right? And figure like maybe just put some words onto the paper. And I had about 4,000 words pretty quickly because I always had this concept in my head. So the promo is based off of a Buffy the Vampire Slayer episode called Normal Again. I
Right.
think it's season 6, and you're a big Buffy fan, so you know what I'm talking about. Where Buffy she's given some sort of drug in real life, and she is then sent to an alternate reality where she's in a mental institution, psych ward, whatever you want to call it, and they're basically like, well, like you've woke up from your coma, more or less, and it's kind of her going back and forth between the world where she's a vampire slayer and the world where she's in this mental institution with her family, and they're trying to tell her like all that shit's not real, like stay with us. And I have always thought that was the best. That's my favorite episode of Buffy. Even if it doesn't really have any major implications on the whole storyline of Buffy, that was just like my favorite concept, and that was the one that kind of knocked me on my ass the most. It's just very cool. It's kind of like it's Inception-y, but I mean, again, I should say Inception is based off of that because this came way before
Right.
Inception. So I always wanted to do something like that. And I was like, well, no better time than now. And so I just started working on this promo like 2 weeks beforehand because I knew that it was going to take a lot to piece together. But I was kind of working Tig the whole time because like Tig was like kind of pushing me like, you should go for this, like you should go for this, you better fucking go for this, etc. And I was like, oh man, I'm probably not gonna do this. I'm not gonna do this. And then like even like a day before the deadline, my promo was written at this point. A day before the deadline, I messaged him and I was like, "Hey, I don't think I'm gonna be able to get a promo in. I'm gonna pass on it." He's like, he said like, that sucks, man. I'm kind of disappointed. I was kind of rooting for you. And
You guys remember earlier when I was talking about playing werewolf with Devin at the table?
yeah, I know, right? And so I'm just working. I'm like, it's all work. And so I posted my promo at like midnight or 1 o'clock or something like that. After doing a little bit of editing, and yeah, man, it came out so good for, in my opinion, like just the end result and like the way that I ended it with like kind of the way that Buffy ended, where like you end this Buffy episode, like the last scene of the episode is her in a coma in the psych ward, and her mom's like, "Oh, Buffy, like so sad," like making you think kind of the Inception angle, which was Inception didn't do it correctly. Buffy did it correctly, making you think that the real life actually is the fucking psych ward, and like this whole vampire thing is actually not real. That kind of like mind fuck type thing. So I wanted to do something like that at the end, and that's where I had like a bit of a glitch where like Golden's family, his dog, his kid, and his wife kind of glitch into being Shannon and Sauce Man and XYZ, which is a little meta, but still, like the whole concept of it was like it's a mind fuck, right? Like maybe it really isn't, or maybe he has a fucking concussion from Aleister Black giving him making him ride the bomb to hell at Mile High in the tag title match, and he has a concussion, and he's just all like, it's all just he's envisioning this whole glitch, and it's not real. And so then it's like, all right, well, what is? And that's how we end the promo. And now I'm writing this character from that, if you've read the shows, where Golden actually believes that the FWA is not real and that he's in a coma back home in New Orleans, and he's never been a wrestler, and he doesn't have a wife, and he doesn't have a kid, and all this shit, and he's never been a world champion or an X champion, and like, but he's stuck in this coma that he's created this world called the Fantasy Wrestling Alliance, and like he's in the driver's seat, and he's basically God, and that's his character now, and it's been so much fucking fun to write that fucking character. It's so fucking cool, and it's crazy. And I've had a lot of people give me a lot of positive feedback about it too. So, and I do feel like this is setting up for the last stretch, the last real leg of his career. This is the last big concept that I have for him. So, I'm really happy and excited about it.
Yeah, I love it, man. I love it, and the positive feedback is much deserved. So just a few more questions as we wind down. In your time in the FWA, Devin Golden has had some notable feuds with the likes of Stu St. Clair, Wolf, Ryan Rondo, XXX, Draven St. Germain, Kaizen, TXR, Alistair Black, Crash. This is just to name a few. Like we'll be on here another hour if I fucking list everyone. But hit me, Devin. I hate to put you on the spot, although I do not. Hit me with Devin Golden's top 5 greatest rivalries.
It's easier for me to start with one because I haven't thought about this question and how to answer it. So it's easier for me to start with one, and one is Ryan Rondo.
Of course.
2 is probably, man. They've never really had a one-on-one match, but they've been in a lot of multi-man matches and tag matches, and they've crossed paths a lot. So I'm gonna say 2 is Wolf. They just go back a distance, and there was a lot of matches, and they had a lot. They crossed paths a lot, and there was just a lot. Like they were never friends. They were never friendly. All the way to the end when Wolf quit, because Golden won his 3rd title. 3, I'm gonna put Toner in there just as being part of the TXR Golden Rock thing.
Right.
I think that mattered a lot, and I think that it stood out a lot. 4 is gonna be Alistair just because of like the glass scene and all that.
Very brutal.
Yeah, like right on a brutality level, like nothing compares to that. So I'm gonna put Alistair 4, and then 5. Whew, man. The Draven Saint Germain thing was cool because like I won the X title. I think I defended it one time, and then I ended up working with Draven's handler, and like we did this angle where like we had a title match on a Crossfire, but it was like a storyline to where they both like had a roll up and both their shoulders were down, and like the ref didn't know who won, and he called it a draw, and so Golden stays the champion. But then Draven comes out with like a toy store, a Toys R Us bought X Championship replica, or I think it was actually like the high. I think he actually came out with like the High Fly Championship or something like that, which is like a retired belt. And he was like, I'm the real X Champion. I pinned the champ. I think that was pretty fucking cool. That was a really cool story. And that was my first feud. That was my first real feud, and that was the first time collaborating with somebody and like working with somebody and like creating this really cool story. So I want to give a nod to him, even though I'm going to say Kaizen is 5th.
Right on.
Because of that X title match and the story behind that X title match, which is the best in-match story that I've ever done. Kaizen deserves that spot.
It really is the fucking crime of the century, man, that we can't go back to PWS and look at that Draven St. Germain shit and, a lot of the other stuff, because so much stuff was lost, and a lot of that stuff that was lost that we'll never get back was very Devin Golden centric. So, that's a shame, man. But sucks. But this one might ruffle some feathers, so you're more than welcome not to answer this one and plead the fifth.
No, I won't. I won't.
Um,
I won't plead the fifth. I
okay.
promise.
Which ultimately, which tag team means more to you in the grand scheme of things? Sunrise, Sunset, or Golden Rock? Which one meant more to your career? Which one means more to you personally? Now, you can argue that the career-long feud between Golden and Rondo that stemmed from Sunrise, Sunset is as significant as the multiple Golden Rock title reigns that outnumber the Sunrise, Sunset title reigns. But you just tell me which team holds more residence in your heart.
Um, there's two ways to answer this. So I'm going to answer it in the way that is more self-absorbed. um, Golden Rock, because it was proof, kind of like what I said at the start of this promo, kind of like what I had Golden say in the last line of Meltdown X. It was proof that I can still go.
There you go.
Because I was out with Golden at that point for nearly 5 years. He was, the last time I'd ever won a title or held a title was almost 5 years before that. He's this old fucking guy. Who the fuck knows him? No one gives a shit about him. And to be able to come in and be that successful, after that amount of time, from a selfish point of view, that meant a lot. The other side of it, the unselfish side of it, is Sunrise Sunset was really significant because it was the first time that I really felt like I helped another. Like, it was not the first time. Carter and Xavier I helped, but he eventually left. When I think about the Rondo character and like he's a multi-time world champion, me and Golden Rondo sit at the top on the number of title reigns in the history of the FWA at 13. So, I don't want to take any really whatever piece of the pie I deserve credit from Rondo's success. Like, it's probably like what 5%, but like the fact that I did play a role in like Rondo going up the ladder, and like I'd really like significant, I guess, like a more direct role and like a major part in that like 6-7 month span when we were the champs. Um, you know, that was like I just looked at the Rondo character and I was like, I'm really glad to be on that journey, part of that journey, even as a tag team, right? And so, and you said it, like the rivalry. Like, you think about the tag team in the scope of a big rivalry. You think about Golden Rock just as a tag team. So, from an unselfish perspective, like I was, Sunrise Sunset means a lot in terms of just being part of Rondo's story. I was really glad to be part of Rondo's story. But
Right.
from a selfish point of view, I was really glad to prove with Golden Rock that I can still go in this era when the writing is at the strongest it's ever been, with guys like SS and Tig and Cyrus and ETE and Sean, my partner, and Sully and Oz. I mean, Crash, Alistair, fuck, man, I can keep fucking going. Comeback Kid with Sean Summers, like, dude, it's incredible. It's incredible how good the writing
Yeah.
is, and to be able to be successful in that time period, that's really fucking cool. I do take a lot of pride in the fact that, like, Golden was along the ride for Ramon becoming world champion and Sean's successes with Ramon. Like, I definitely take a lot of pride for that. But I think there was definitely an edge. There's an edge of like, I took a long time and maybe some people fucking forgot about Golden. So let's go fucking win the titles again. That's fucking cool. So anyway.
There we go. There we go, man. Oh yeah. I'm happy with that answer. So last question, man. Final question. I know you've been talking about retiring off and on for the last
Yeah,
half a
like almost,
decade.
I
At
think a
one
decade pretty
point,
much.
right? And at one point, you even did for a little bit, but I don't think I can imagine an FWA where you're not involved in it, and I'm not sure I want to see a version of that FWA ever exist. But I mean, the reality is that nothing good can stay for, nothing good can last forever. To quote the movie The Outsiders, nothing golden lasts.
I love that. I love that
So
movie, man. It's a great movie.
yeah.
You think about the cast. Think about the fucking cast in that movie. Like it's
Oh,
like what
dude,
young
one of the all-time greats.
Tom
One of the
Cruise,
all-time greats. You kidding
right?
me?
Yeah, yeah. We don't have to go through it, but it's like it's everybody.
Tom Cruise, Ralph. No, man, let's go through it. Tom Cruise, Ralph Macchio, Rob Lowe, Patrick Swayze, Kevin Dillon, or Matt Dillon.
Was it
You know what I mean?
Emilio
It's a
Estevez?
Emilio
Yeah,
Estevez as well. Yeah, fucking great cast. And
Diane Lane, right?
yeah, yeah, and Thomas C.
Thomas C. Howell.
This is fuck. There we go.
Yeah.
Thomas C. Howell. Great fucking cast, man. But like I said, nothing gold can last. But for the sake of discussion, what does Devin Golden need or want to achieve before you finally feel content with riding off into that sunset?
Um, I'm a big believer in like stories. Like everyone's character is a book, its own book. So in that regard, I'm a big believer in having an ending that I feel good about, and so I just want an ending that I feel good about. I had an ending that I felt good about in 2015 when I retired Golden against Rondo, and that whole year that led up to it. In terms of the lead up to now, I feel good about the run that I've had as like a precursor for a proper ending, whatever that proper ending looks like. I feel like, and this is, it's all about the story to me. And I've seen people use that in promos against me. I've seen Shake in particular, and this is, I love fucking Shake, and I love the fact that he does do this. I've seen him use that mentality in promos against me, where it's like it's not just the story, it's the Devin Golden story that has swept that like encompasses that he tries to encompass through the whole FWA, right? So I
Right.
love the fact that he like turns it on me. But uh and I really do. I think it's so fucking cool that he does that. And really good. Like really fucking like it hits hard. Um I just want a good ending, man. Like whatever that ending is. I don't even know what the ending is. I don't even know who the last match is. I don't know like when it is. I don't know like what the circumstances are. I just want an ending that I'm gonna feel good about and be like, yeah, that's a good way to end it. A good emotional, like, you know what? Like the message was clear. Like I did what I wanted to do. I felt like I was successful. I felt like it's time to go. And like and that's if I can just
Right.
get that and accomplish that, then you know, that's awesome. And you know, yeah, I think that's really the last thing I gotta have.
Right on, man. Right on. Well, Devin, you could have, your retirement could have played out much like Michael Jordan retiring from the Bulls and coming back with the Wizards to a bust. But that's not what happened. You came back. You added a ton of titles to your repertoire, crafted a ton of great stories. So, as not just as your friend, but as a fan of the FWA, I salute you. We're thankful for what you've accomplished, whatever you will continue to accomplish with whatever time you have left. And more than anything, man, I thank you for sitting down with me and running through your career for these past 2+ hours. It's been a ton of fun.
Yeah, man, I appreciate it. And I'll give you like an exclusive, I guess.
Oh,
Right? I know. One of the reasons why I wanted to do this podcast now is because of the time sensitive stuff. So this might be the first time I'm pretty sure this will be the first time I say this. I don't know if I'm going to actually tell everyone beforehand outside of this podcast. I'm going to probably step down from being a mod in the near future. We're recording this between Meltdown and Fallout 11 and 12, so maybe sometime between 12 and 13 it'll probably happen, or before or after the 13 shows. Um, it's time. It just is, man. And like, you know, I was thinking about this podcast and like how I gotta I'm usually the one interviewing people, so I gotta be ready to take my hand off the steering wheel. And I've had a lot of practice taking my hand off the steering wheel and having my hand off the steering wheel this past year. I set up the mod team kind of in the specific way where it's like we have this brand split and there's two mods to each show and then there's me in the middle. helping out. But the mods go across to help out each other all the time. It was always the concept. I felt like the concept was great, but man, the I how it has played out execution wise, in terms of like how the FWA has been this past year since the brand split and with the mod team, like it exceeds my expectations. Like just how amazing these mods have been, like they're fucking incredible. And so I feel confident and I feel good with, like, you know what, man, like I don't need to be a mod anymore. Like you said earlier, you were like, without you, like, the FWA may have died back when PWS died. There have probably been moments, I don't want to say the entire time I've been in the FWA and been a mod, like the FWA has needed me. There's probably been moments the FWA has needed me to step up, but I really feel like the FWA does not need me right now, especially to be a mod. Like, this is not my FWA. I don't want to be my FWA. This is SS and Man and John, and then all the other guys who aren't mods: Tig, Battle Tank, OMB, Oz, Crash, Smooth Jats, Wolf, Roar, all those fucking Comeback Kid. This is their FWA, man. It's like I don't want to speak for you, but like it's not our FWA anymore, right? Like we're part of their FWA. We fit in with their FWA. We compete and win world titles. It's fine, but like we're part of their vision, and I feel really great about their vision. And I feel like it's weird, man. I've had mods, worked with mods, you and Shake, stand out the most, and Kaizen, as guys who like I've really loved working with you guys, and I feel like you guys could fit on this team. I don't think I've ever seen a better mod team than the one that is existing now, and because of that, I feel like now is the absolute perfect time to not be a mod and just to completely give them the reins. Because I really have been in the back, behind the curtains, so much this last year, more than I ever have been, because these guys got it, man. And like, I have had a lot of practice, take my hand off the steering wheel with a lot of stuff. I'm not like that usually. I like to be kind of like in the middle of it, my hands in the cookie jar and kind of like molding it. So I've had to take my hand off of the steering wheel with this a lot. And, I'm really happy I did, because I've allowed those guys to do and make I don't want to say I've allowed. They did it, man. Like they fucking stepped up and they took control. It's their credit. It's not my credit. I really don't deserve any credit beyond the concept of it. But I'm just really happy with where it is, and I like feel like before, when I stepped down, like I was giving it to you, and like you're one person, right? Or I was giving it to Shake and he's one person. Now I feel like I'm giving it to 3 or 4 people. Man, John is like such a fucking incredible mod, and like a home run like decision to make him a mod. And like I just feel so good about him and SS and Man, and Jimmy's so fucking steady. So yeah, I just wanted to say I'm giving you the exclusive. Like I'm gonna step down from being a mod. This may be the first time I'm saying it to anybody in the FWA outside of the mod team. The mods know. I just I care a lot about the FWA. Like, how do you not be part of something for 13 years and not care about it, right? 14 years and not care about it significantly. It was a very big part of my life, and as I've progressed to become the person I am today and go through all the stages of life. So kind of like that, I'm just really happy that I can like let it go or like step down, and like I feel completely confident that it's in a really healthy place. So anyway, wanted to say it.
Well, you heard it first, FWA. Devin, yeah, man. I think you're spot on. We're in good hands. SS, John, Man, Jimmy, they're fucking incredible at what they do. And you're right, this isn't our FWA anymore. I'm happy to be a guest in the house.
It's nice to be a guest in the house, right? Like
yeah,
it's I think it's nice to be a guest in the house it's, I really look forward to the day when like I once again can like look at a card not knowing at all what the fuck is going on with my character. Like that's so fucking
Right.
I'm
Yeah.
so looking forward to that day. And like maybe after the first time I'll be like annoyed by it and not know, but like I'm looking forward to like the unknown of like, I don't know what the hell is going to happen. And like, I'm not leaving for, I'm not like, just like, I know I'm talking about stepping down from being a mod and retiring the golden character. I really want to give an honest go with XYZ. I've never been able to do an honest go with them, and I love the
Right.
character. So I'm still going to be a part of it. Like you said, a guest in the house with XYZ
Yeah.
as my character. And I'm really, really, really happy and excited about that because I love the FW. I want to be, it's a great community, man. Like Discord has helped it so tremendously. It has given us the shout box that we lost when PWS went down, and it has made it more of a stronger community. And I don't know if I'll ever be able to actually not be part of the community in some form. So, yeah. Anyway,
It reaches, you reach a point where, you know, and especially you, what, like you said, right now we're in great hands. If there was ever a time for you to hang it up, brother, it's now, man. But at least I can take solace in knowing that you're always going to be around as a RP guy, and what more could you ask for, right? So,
it's
uh
crazy to think back like when we join, right? And I don't want to keep this going for too long, but it's a romantic aspect of it. It's crazy to think back when we join these types of things. Like, did you ever expect when you joined in 2010, 2011 that you'd be here in 2022 doing a podcast about the FWA? No, you probably never would have thought it was possible. And
no,
I never would have thought when I joined in
no,
2008 that I'd be in there 10 years, that I would have been there when I was married. It's just something about it, man. Something about the storytelling and the community and, you know, something about it. There's just some weird, unexplained thing that makes the FWA special in the same way that it makes a lot of, online type of communities special. And this is the main one I'm part of, and I'm just really thankful that uh, Philip Landesh back in 1998 told me to watch Nitro because the best thing that ever came from it was the FWA. Me being part of it. So
right on.
yeah,
We're all very thankful, Philip Landesh. Thank you so much wherever you are, and thank you, Devin, for all you've done and all you'll continue to do. I think that's a wrap for our show, guys. Thanks for sticking with us for this last two
man,
hours, two plus hours,
long
whatever that
fucking
looks like
time.
after editing. But it's Super Bowl Sunday here in the States, so I'm off to get my drink on, and I hope you guys stay good, take care of yourselves. So long and good night.
Jiggy, we will be in touch.
Right on, brother.